is good? It's the news. What is good is the news. What's good is the news. What's good is the news. So just like in Sonic Hedgehog the game, Sonic Hedgehog the game, who are the prided folks who run the game? It tends to be animals. Why is it animals? They are unique and interesting space critters like in Star Fox. Star Fox is a weird creature, but he gets the job done, and he flies jets, and he handles his business. And the same way with Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog has tails. Tails is a little bit of a fox, and he can also fly. Why is he used and not a human being? It's because they are magical. Certain animals are magical, have magical powers. Like Star Fox, he can fly jets. He can also use augmented reality glasses to be able to guide himself with his little his ships. And he is an accurate shot. He has quite an accurate shot. That is Star Fox. Star Fox, if you realize that is an old game, it is quite a solid choice. I recommend you try that out, especially on NES, the first Nintendo system, or Super Nintendo. That's also a valid choice. It's worth acknowledging that all of these critters are unique in video games because they have a unique perspective of how they would attack the enemy's process and spaceship, and they tend to get inside because they're little crawly feet and little process where they are quick and dirty, and how they get inside of things to be able to make things happen and get things done is unique compared to humans, and they have unique minds, and they have unique ways to communicate like animal communication does. They are these unique little angles for getting little jobs done, such as in video games. Oh yeah, to be able to try to transmit and translate and coincide with getting across the enemy lines to be able to get the jobs done. Oh yeah. Welcome to the news. Welcome to the news. Welcome to the news. Initially, what we're gonna try to go over this time is about choreography. Choreography that corresponds to games, that is, choreography that corresponds to games in different ways, just like in the game of soccer. Oh yeah, the game of soccer. Oh yeah, and like capoeira, it is a type of dance form. It is a dancing type. It is also a martial art, and it is almost like disguised as a form of dancing in of itself, as just a form of dancing, as another look into soccer. What it is, it's like a little bit, especially if you put it on slow motion, it's like an unfolding of peculiar movements that add up to making a slow and progressive addition to continuous motion that eventually is making moves towards a goal. It's making moves towards a goal. And the coordination and the slow motion and the choreography is quite smooth. Shifting, sliding, transitioning on one side to another in a sequential motion, so that items that are actions add from one side to another in terms of passing, and those passes are also sequences that also relate to motion, and that motion is quite key in developing the process, which is making forward motion to get closer to the goal. And once that goal is closer to be reached, there is more even strategy that is in place when all the key players that are in place are using choreography. They're using choreography to be able to get closer to the goal and then strike, and to be able to score within the goal. But that choreography is instrumentally placed so that in essence there is a very instrumental element of choreographed motion, that is, when slowed down and put on slow motion, that action is very methodical and slow motion and very smooth to be able to reach the goal front and to be able to get into the goal box and to be able to then have a very slow and one step at a time process procedure, almost like a sales process, making a sale. It's very slow towards the end in a mental sense where things are slowed down, almost like slow motion, to be able to see things in a sequential action in terms of the methodical mental sense, to be able to try to see the motion in a very slow sense so that everything in a sense is choreographed before it started, so that in essence once you get closer to the goal, things become almost like slowed down to where it's like a dance, like a slow dance, and you want everything to be smooth when everything is practiced in a fast environment so that the mindset can be slowed down when the goal is reached and it's very close so that things don't go wrong upon getting closest to the goal, and that everything can be like a choreographed dance in terms of passing, making passes, and slow maneuvers so that when people are unfolding and their movements on the field are happening and it becomes looking like a slow motion, because ultimately there's an element of prediction and predictability, hopefully in the essence of how the other team is making movements and motions based upon predictions and trends and how the team's directions are trending, so that it's then possible to be able to predict and be able to coincide and be able to slide upon those predictions of how the team's motion is unfolding, to be able to then slide among those predictions and therefore unfold their, so to speak, strategies, and therefore slide the strategy of fulfilling a goal within the strategy of the other team, and that is therefore choreographed mindsets. It's a choreographed mindset, it's a structured mindset to be able to choreograph a successful goal to be reached, and the goal line is then crossed in a slow and methodical way. It's not hyperactive, it's just a very slow dance, and it's a very slow and methodical dance of passing and eventually shooting or just carrying the ball swiftly across the goal line. And it's a choreographed process because everything is mentally thought out to begin with, and the trends are thought out to begin with, and the whole process is looked at from the forefront and then brought into the back front, so that ultimately when it's carried out, it is a smooth unfolding of choreography. Moving back to the animals, talking about animals, thinking about how animals are very important. It's a key feature in the DINKY land, in the DINKY world, that many of the animated characters will become somewhat like animals that are realistic, actual animal causes that are trying to be looking after animals around the world, so that especially many methodical and mystical animals are able to be looked after in realistic senses, and that it's possible to also be able to make campaigns so that certain animals across the world are able to be looked after in a realistic sense, because in a realistic sense they have realistic powers and they do realistic things in the human world and they cause realistic energy, and that realistic energy is realistically reciprocal, so therefore it's realistically ideal to be able to continue to make campaigns and be able to work as DINKY Tech to be able to promote animal goodness, to be able to back up content and be able to put it in the comments and the descriptions and the content development for DINKY Tech content, and also collaborations and partnerships and such things as they go, to be able to give shout outs to animals in different places and spaces, to be able to look out after their well-being and be able to develop systematization for their well-being, to be able to be looked after in the similar way as humans. And that is why we always say, please try to adopt all cats and dogs in shelters, to be able to at least foster them, because fostering saves lives. And please clear the shelters, and please spread the word on all of that, and that is always meant to be in the description of all the podcasts as well. So yeah, thanks for the reminder. Okay, right on. Animals, yeah, fostering saves lives, clear the shelters, spread that word, spread the word on all those. Oh yeah. Moving on down the line, we're hoping to jump into maybe a conceptual partnership in the connected TV space. One one sense or another, we're trying to conceptualize using comedy in the connected TV space, in the internet TV space, to hopefully be able to try to connect almost in like a political comedy sense, like when we talk about doing flash mobs. Like those flash mobs are almost like comedy in of itself. Like this podcast is almost like comedy in of itself. It's almost like political comedy in a certain respect because it's almost like in a surreptitious way similar to doing like the unfolding of soccer and having methodical processes to be able to get closer to the goal by using choreography and having that be a smooth unfolding process where it's just kind of flowing with the energy to be able to get closer and just be able to walk across the goal line in a smooth methodical mindset sense, to be able to slow motion and slow things down in a similar way. In a similar way with that, we're trying to use comedy in the connected TV space to be able to slide across the goal lines of being able to try to get games for change across all spaces in the world, to be able to try to play games for change and make everybody be able to, in a smooth way, have fun and actually be laughing, because it is like comedy and it's comedic and it's worth being able to go about things that way and just be able to play that way, and everybody's laughing because it's like comedy and it's like political comedy, but at the same time it's actually just funny on the front end because it's fun games that are being played like kids, and there's no surreptitiousness about it, there's no back end about it, there's no underhandedness about it, there's no manipulation about it. It's just pure fun being played like from games, from kids, being brought back to the surface as adults so that it comes back around as adults, and we're able to play those games as kids, and it circumvents and is more important and powerful than any other political interests that are out there. Oh yeah. But getting into the connected space, we have sort of a partnership in mind to be able to try to facilitate that and be able to try to implement it into our agency structure so that we're able to use distribution, because Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios, and Change for Game Studios is an emulation and trying to imitate a film studio to begin with. That's how it started with Pokemon Go the video game. It's trying to take the film studio mindset and the business model and mindset and be able to transpose that into the Pokemon Go, the game, so that it's augmented reality over the whole world, over the games over the whole world have to do with augmented reality, similar to Pokemon Go. And yeah, transposing those games into all the fabric of society. Oh yeah, just like Pokemon Go does in all the spaces in the world, and choreographing spaces and places and ways for comedy to shift its way in, just like this podcast in a weird ironic sense is like comedic because it's just a strange vibe. Oh yeah. And with connected TV, we just want to hopefully implement this strategy so that ultimately in our marketing game plan of tools, we're able to implement connected TV across like maybe like Apple TV and or Apple TV and like Roku and like Amazon TV and like Android TV and all those things, and maybe even Netflix or whatever it takes some time, so that there is ultimately partnerships and distribution partnerships similar to a film studio. That's the conceptual partnership that we also have going on tomorrow, that we have to discuss tomorrow a little bit more with somebody else that I won't go into specifically in such things, but this is the news, so we're trying to talk about things that are current as well at the same time. So yeah, with that thought in mind of that little bit of a current conceptualization, we'll leave it there and leave you with that there for now. Thanks again. All right, Dinky Tech, peace.